Yo, yo, yo. How we doing today, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are we today? There is no text to speech on today. I'm at home. I haven't even set it up. Normal donations, and I will read them out. I will read them out. Normal donations and normal memberships, I will read them out as usual, but there's no text to speech here today at home. I need a break mentally. Mentally, the text to speech is I can't do it every day. I can't do it every day. So I would just read your messages when you donate out for the people who want to donate for real. Look, I appreciate all of the money that was sent in earlier, multiple $100s total, which is great, but I'm not sure mentally. Mentally, I can handle it. What we'll probably do, as I was saying at the end of the last video and in the one this morning, is we'll probably do a situation where um, we'll do it like at the end, of the video. Something like that. We'll do it at the end of the video, but not today. I don't have it set up. I don't have it set up. I do still have it where it should pop up though. So you can still be acknowledged for your membership. You can still be acknowledged for your message on the screen, but it's just not going to read it out. Um, so hopefully people don't just now completely stop donating to ask questions for me, because then I may have it's like they say, like when you it's you got to be careful when you give children things, because when you give children things, that's great, but if you have to take it away, then it would have been better if you never gave it to them in the first place. So, you know, um yeah. So taking away the children's things is maybe feels bad. Um maybe is bad. Maybe it's gonna lose me money now on the donations and the memberships during the stream. But yeah, I will have a members video for you guys who are members, who are thinking about becoming members. There will be a members video today at some point when I get a few minutes, okay? So I'm just going to do my little shilling there. The updates for that, what I say in that members video, will also be in Patreon. So whether you're in YouTube membership or whether you are in Patreon, you will get some little videos and updates a bit later today, okay? For those of you who do support me in that way, I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for that. So there will be something for you today. There's usually things in Patreon, but I said, well, at least once a week I'll make a YouTube video as well for the YouTube members, and there will be a members video later. Like you've seen them, they're brief, they're short, and they're interesting. So yes, donate for James' therapy fund album. Get over last night's live. Oh no, it's reading it. Why is it reading it? Did you guys hear it? Please tell me you didn't hear it. It read it out to me, but I don't think it read it out to you, which is fine. It didn't read it out to you, which is okay. Which is okay. That way I can just that way I don't miss it anyway, and then I'll read it myself. You never heard it? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Pro Muppet, Ben Miller. Appreciate you. But yes, while we coming in here, make sure to like. Nah, you didn't hear it. You didn't hear it. Okay, good. Okay, good. You didn't hear it. No. I have all of the sounds muted besides my microphone on here, like in the Streamlabs mixer, so I know it won't. Josh, welcome to the Pro Muppet. My shilling is working. Yay. Thank you for joining the Not a Cult. Thank you for that. But yes, while we're here, please come on, guys, 500 in here. If you're gonna hang out, if you're gonna watch, like the video, you can get a few hundred in there, likes in there as we get going. I do have, no, I'm going to mute my sound because it came out of my computer. I'm just going to hit mute and then I won't hear anything. I just wanted to make sure it didn't come through, all of that. So yes, not too long of a live today. You might have heard it feedback through my computer because it played it on the speaker, and then it might have come in through my microphone, but you shouldn't hear it any other way. Your wife currently hates you. Any advice? My brother, sometimes I hate you. So it might just be you. No, but yes, I appreciate you all. I do have to coach in like, I gotta leave in like an hour and 10 minutes. I can push it to like an hour and 15. It won't be too long today. I do have to go coach. I do gotta go get some stuff done. So yeah, I gotta get that all done. I gotta get a lot of stuff done. So I won't be 2 hours long. I'm gonna try to get through everything I wanted to get through. Um, um, so yeah, lots to get through. I have this little board. Look, it says do not write on this side. Isn't that funny? Like I have this little board and it's got like my notes of things I want to write, I want to talk about for at home, which is kind of nice. Because I didn't have time to make like the little thing to go on the screen. So I've got this little board. I've got this little board to make notes on now, which is really cool. It's like a little whiteboard that sits next to me. Very, very high tech. And I can bring it to coaching, to draw like tactics and stuff. So anyway, good stuff. But let's talk. So this morning I did another video, obviously kind of summarizing some of the things yesterday. Spoke about the midfielders. I want to talk about them again today. Kind of 6 names that we're looking at. I can't increase the volume. It's at its maximum. I can only talk louder or you can only turn your volume up. But I am at my maximum volume today. Yes, so I'll talk about midfielders again, talk about some of the names that I think we might be targeting, that I think we might target should we turn to buying a midfielder. And I do believe, that we will get, that we will go for a midfielder. You can see my hub tab. Yeah, that's me. So hopefully it's not. Tactics for kids, games gone, mate. No, what I write on it is run. What I write on it is run, 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 run. Nelson Pagala, nobody cares about United. Okay, then. Nobody cares about you, sir. So rude. So rude. So yeah, we'll talk about a few of those names. I want to talk a lot about the sales, definitely about the sales, because that is fundamental to what happens next is the sales. We need lots and lots and lots and lots of sales. So I want to talk about exactly what happens next on the sales side of things, because we're going to need them, okay? And there is progress. There is more to happen. There is things moving. Yeah, it's not a done, like it's not a dead situation. I know the sales can be kind of quiet and it feels like we don't really hold a lot of info. We don't hear a lot about the sales that are ongoing, but there is quite a bit happening on the sell front. Okay. Then I wanna talk about Gyokeres, because our very own friend Fabrizio Romano confirmed fully what I've been saying for how many weeks now, my friends? How many weeks now? How many weeks now? How do they keep up with James from the Muppeteers, this random American? How do we get them to keep up? How many weeks have I been telling you? Gyokeres wanted to move to us. Gyokeres was open to the move to us. Gyokeres, even without the Europa League win, is still on the table, and that we just need to get the money. How many weeks? How many weeks have we been talking about it? The feelings in my loins, But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit. Mbeumo, a little bit there, and yeah, that's it. Let's start with Mbeumo, okay? Let's start with Mbeumo when we want to speak about this. I just to settle people so people aren't shitting themselves and worrying, because I know people get worried. I've also said Real Madrid won't pay 45 million for Mastantuono. I did, and do you see the news today? The deal is stalling because Madrid are trying once again to screw around with the clause. This is what Madrid keep doing. They scare everybody off and then they start dicking around with the clauses. Isn't that crazy? Like, I don't know why they keep doing that. Um, but it's sort of a strange thing about Madrid, and now they're messing around with the Mastantuono deal again. It's really funny. I don't. It's so weird. Like, is Madrid broke? What is their problem? What is their problem? Because look, you've seen it confirmed now that we tried and that we were maybe one of the closer teams to getting him, but now they're trying to then they scared everybody off. They scared PSG off, and then they're like, well, no, we're not actually going to play we tried to make a deal without paying the clause, and they said no. Like, this has been the holdup all along, and now it's like going in circles. Maybe this time they'll accept it, but I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it, because we've done this before. Um, we've heard this exact same story before on Mastantuono and Madrid. They tried it a year ago. This thing of not actually paying the clause, and so now we'll see. Do I think we're going to get Mastantuono? No, I think we've moved on, unfortunately. With the purchase of Brian Mbeumo, where we're at right now, I think we've moved on from Mastantuono, and with Bruno staying, with Mbeumo, I think that's it. I don't think we're going to be making a purchase of Mastantuono or going back into that race. So unfortunately, he's a great young player, but we have a better player right now, at least for what we need at the moment. Um, so I don't see us going back in for him. We're not going to get another 10 in this window, realistically. So yeah, let's talk about I love how every time I go live, a certain channel loves to tweet 2 minutes later saying that they're going live. Any worries about Gyokeres heading ability? Yes. To be fair, yes, I do. I do worry about his heading ability, because, like I said before, I think that being able to head the ball is a good talent. Now, the interesting thing about Gyokeres is that he's actually good in the air. He wins the ball in the air a lot. He's actually one of the best duelers in the air around in terms of strikers, but he's not great at heading the ball towards the goal to get a goal with it. That being said, when you can, the positive to winning those duels means maybe it's being headed to somebody else. Maybe it's being headed to, you know, off the goalkeeper. Maybe it ends up in a corner, because you're still winning the duel in the possession potentially. But not scoring. So it's in the middle, you know what I mean? It's better than Hojlund, who doesn't win the ball or score, So it's a big improvement. At least we'll win the ball, and he wins a lot of the balls in the air around the midfield as well. He's good at that. So, that's a good thing. That's a good thing that I like. So he scored a few, just not this season. Again, that's probably the biggest reason why I wanted Osimhen, for what it's worth. The biggest thing that I think Osimhen is the best striker in the world is because he can do all of that. Or in terms of like strikers on the move, but obviously he's off the table for us, is because he can move like that, because he scores everything. Because he scores everything. And that's probably the one weakness. That being said, low crosses, crosses in. Yeah, it's different, Ricardo. And that's the other thing, too. I don't expect we're going to be putting tons of aerial crosses into the box that you're going to need to score with your head. It's not like you even have to. You can score with your feet off of a lot of those like low swinging curlers and low crosses in. You can score with your feet. You can, bring it down and score. So I want to see a lot of those. I want to see a lot of cutbacks. I want to see a lot of things like that more than I want to see headers. We've got center backs and guys like that who can score with their head. So fuck it. You know what I mean? Um, Goodbye. See you later, bud. Um, no, it's not like he can't though, and that's okay. But cutbacks are my thing. Cutbacks are definitely my thing. So on Mbeumo, I don't want anybody to panic. I definitely don't want anybody to panic on this at all. There's nothing to panic about. Okay. As I've said, I've talked with a few people about where it's at as far as I'm hearing, as far as they're hearing, just to be like, are we good? Are we good? And the truth of the matter is, like, yeah, we're good. Okay. As far as I know, everything is fine. Everything is progressing, not just fine as in it's just, yeah, but things are progressing. Things are moving forward towards a deal. There's a few major factors in it, right, that have to be sorted out. Thank you for the donation, Angie. I do hate it when my cat wakes me up. What are the three major things? We're going to be doing a structured deal. We're going to be doing a we're going to be doing a structured deal that has a good base fee, an agreeable full fee, and what are the right add-ons and things in place. And all three of those things need to be included, because with the total fee, we need to be in that 60 plus range. With the with the base fee, it needs to probably be over 50 million. And with the add-ons, they have to be from Brentford's perspective, they have to be reasonable. They have to be decent. They have to be things that are achievable from their perspective, so that they get that money. And from what I can gather as I hear it, I think we're pretty close on the overall fee to having things sorted. And we're into structures. And then the other major factor is installments, and I can't say I know anything about that, but that's one of the things I'm chasing up, because we need this deal to be done in installments. But the relationship between the clubs is fine. The talks between the clubs is fine. All parties want a deal to get done at the end of the day. It doesn't really work for anyone should it not. Mbeumo will be sold this summer by Brentford. He wants United. They're not going to walk away. The likelihood of us walking away is near zero. But I think the next thing we hear is done deal, final details, whatever, or we walk away. But the odds of it are like 95% to 5% on which it will be. Any concerns with Mbeumo? He's very similar to Ahmad. Mbeumo. No, that's exactly why. I think that when you look at the rotations, when Amarim really likes those two lefties on the left, he likes that because they can kind of, wing back can receive the ball in the build-up and move inside, while the 10 can move outside in that phase of play to send the ball down the channels. And then in the final third, one can cut in and one can run beyond. But the thing that I think is really important to note about both Mbeumo and Ahmad, which is not true of other wingers necessarily, is they're both really good with their right foot. Neither of them are, and like, I'm not saying they're going to be banging shots in with their right foot, but they're both more than competent with their right foot. They're not Antony's. You know what I mean? That's really important when you look at how they play. Ahmad, we've seen him many, many times drive down to the line and hit it in with his right foot. He can do it. So can Mbeumo. It's not a situation where they're cutting in every single time, same direction. And so the variability, either, they can vary. The wingback can cut in and the winger can go down to the baseline, or vice versa at any point in time. And that is not really a concern in my opinion at all. I think it's going to work really great and be very, very threatening. So nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Everything here is moving the way that we want it to at this point in time. We are going to need, we are very, very much going to need just to finish the structure and installments. And my gather of where things are at is that, it's more about the specific structure and installments than the base and total fee itself at this point in time. Okay, so that's my feeling on the matter at the moment, just from all the things that I've heard today. So I think everything's going the right way, and the talks will continue towards a resolution. Nobody wants it to take too long, and nobody wants this deal not to happen. So I'm feeling good. Everything's going the way that we should, but again, I want to make it really clear. It's not bid, rejected, bid, rejected, bid, rejected, bid, rejected, this kind of shit, okay? James Orm Dawson, I'm worried about depth at wingers if we sell 4. Yeah, look, I've brought this up before, but bearing in mind this is probably why we want a midfielder. Because if Bruno is a midfielder and a 10, if Ahmad is a 10 and a wingback, And then we have Mount, and then we have Mainu, then we have Xerxes who can play in the 10s too. Then behind Cunha and Mbeumo, we really have like 5 players. There's a lot. We end up with like Cunha, Mbeumo, Xerxes, Mount, Mainu, Bruno, Ahmad. That's 7 players for those 2 positions, with 2 of those players flexing into other spots. So yeah, I think that the depth will be okay. That's probably one of the reasons getting a midfielder is really necessary, is that then we can play the other midfielder with Ugarte or Casemiro or something and move them up. Move Bruno up to the 10 as needed. And it's 1 day a week. Stuart, 5 gifted memberships, and the announcements will be up there on who's getting it. Some of my good friends, Rob MDM, Alejandro, good to see you guys getting free memberships. Thank you, Stuart, as always, for being a friend of the channel. One of the things I did want to mention that I thought was really interesting on Mbeumo, just not to be like too much of a tactics person on this, because nobody likes to hear my tactical insights, despite the fact that I've watched more sporting than probably anybody but what's his name in here, than our Ricardo Diaz friend, our Portuguese friend in here. One of the things that I do really like that somebody mentioned about Mbeumo and the pressing that I think is really sharp is the concept of how he will press on that right side, and how that will probably help us in the way that we want. One of the ways that Ruben Amorim likes to set up his press is in that kind of 4-4-2 at times. We started to see a little bit of it here and there where it was more balanced, and it flexes a lot. And I think that Mbeumo and Ahmad on that side has the potential to be, super dynamic in the way that it can press. So I'm pretty excited about that. Again, one of the things you like to see is one of the, depending on different possession standpoints, one of the wing backs being more defensive and one being more of a high presser. And I think, you end up with a situation where you press kind of like in this shape, right? In this kind of 4-4-2, where this side is incredibly aggressive and dynamic, and this side is not dynamic or aggressive, but is a little bit more defensive. And you get imbalanced pressing, which is good. So classic 4-4-2 shape that we can get into at times. Do it the Fergie way with aggressive pressers and all of that, because these are the ideal zones for all of these guys to press in this team too. So yeah, I think that he's going to help the press a lot in Mbeumo because of the way that he runs, and with really allowing Ahmad to be a presser as well from the wide area and actually have the support that we kind of need. Somebody did this. That's cool. Yeah, and I'm sure it's been mentioned, but yeah, it's an interesting kind of take on it. So yes. So in Mbeumo, there you go. More of the formations, more of the story. Formations don't matter. Totally. Yeah, and Mbeumo tracked back really well against us too. Yeah, one of the things I did really like, by the way, yeah, somebody mentioned Dorgu here. One of the things I did really like that I totally agree with is I think it was Academy Scoop who put a little, just like a little a clip. Look, I don't think that compilations tell you kind of everything, but at the same time, what I would say is that what you can see from that clip, in my opinion, is that from those clips, from those collections, is what I felt, which is that I do feel like even though Dorgu had plenty of flaws in his game through the season, I walked away from every game with this idea that he still was actually really good at putting the ball into dangerous areas. We just had absolutely no idea how to finish them. And we did not have the forwards to get there. And when you watch that, you can see it's pretty much true. There's a lot of good crosses in there, a lot of good, balls in the face of goal that just run, through to nobody attacking them, nobody crashing the box, nobody getting on the end of them. All of that kind of stuff. So I think that Dorgu is going to be really good with good forwards. I think a lot of stuff is going to be really, really good with good forwards. I think that it's really hard for wing backs and wide players who are actually, not to mention it took how many months before Garnacho actually passed once to the overlapping fullback, right? Like it, we only saw it, like the first time we saw it was probably April, like give me a break. And I did see that too. Dorgu tops the carries per 90 for under 21 fullbacks. I think he's really impressive. I think he's going to be really good. He's obviously got to improve on certain aspects of his technique and such, but he's good, man. He's a good player. He's going to be really, really good for us. Interesting thing here. This is mostly his Serie A minutes, I think. But, I was noticing that even on the basic stats, MT gifting a membership. Thank you for that. King Ragnar really thought we'll place the second bid today. Getting a bit word will walk anything on Kamara from Villa. So I was just talking about Mbeumo. No, I don't think we'll walk away, but I don't think we'll place the second bid until we have everything ready. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is the base fee and the total, which I think we're pretty close on right now. The add-on structure and the installment structure. We want all of those things essentially being about done when we get there. And I think that that'll really help. But one of the interesting things I noticed here, PSG, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't think that's correct. When you look at this, this is Dorgu. You can see he's in the super, super high percentage success rate for crosses and carrying. He's like way up there on all of these things. And basically, he played half as a wing back for half the season, so it's hard to measure some of these other ones against other fullbacks. But this is the good news: top carrier and top crosser. But you can't get expected assists if people aren't getting towards the passes. You know what I mean? Like, so that's one of those stats. Expected assists is kind of a useless stat. No, it's one of the more useless stats, even among useless stats, unfortunately. But yeah, these are good numbers for me. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to see for sure. From Patrick Dorgu. So talked about Mbeumo. It's all good. We've got to work out a couple of different things still to go on the deal, but I think that when we want to put it forward, I think that when we get where we want to be on this, when all the things are agreed, that's when the bid will go in. No sooner, no later than that. So we could talk about striker really quick, and then we'll talk about sales and all of that, because that's going to be the most important piece of the puzzle here. So look, all I can tell you on that is that there's one person here. Hold on, I'm just going to pull this up so I can show it on the screen, okay? Where is it? All right, hold on. Let me just pull it up so I can show you, so I can answer your questions on this, because there was like one person who was on who's now also been totally confirmed with that thing from Fabrizio the other day, okay? Whose info is totally confirmed by that as well. Oh my god, how do I... Oh, wait, here we go. No. These websites, man. These websites. I don't have the knowledge of how to, like, get through this so quickly, okay? Come on. English. Thank you. All right, here we go. Mark, welcome to the Pro Muppet. This is one of the other people who said something that was exactly confirmed as well, what Fabrizio said. This is Tanzi Loic, who is a very, very good journalist in France, okay? Probably one of the most reliable for French news, PSG, all that kind of stuff. And he was one of the ones who said May 20 before the Europa League, which is what I've said and what Fabrizio confirmed as well, that we were very interested in him. We're very active. We'll want to work on it. He says we're the first one to make concrete move. Luis Campos, who maintained contact with his entourage, has come to terms with the number 9. As it stands, Luis Campos doesn't want a reinforcement at this position, and even less so with such an expensive player. They just won the Champions League with their current setup. I don't think they're replacing Dembele, who was essentially their striker this season, with Gyokeres. that's doesn't particularly make sense in his plans and his way of thinking, to bring in a player, and even were it to be the case, secondly, Gyokeres wants England. Thirdly, I don't think he wants to go into play backup to somebody who might be winning a Ballon d'Or. Why would he? They're not gonna dump their Champions League winning front three to put Gyokeres in as a starter. That doesn't make sense. They've got their team that they want to play. Um, he doesn't really fit them. Even Ramos doesn't really fit them. You know. But again, even if they did, it would be as a backup. But you're talking about 60 million for a backup. This isn't really the way that Campos moves at present. So in terms of age, in terms of the way that they've been approaching things. But regardless, I don't know PSG, but that's what the article says, that he doesn't want that. So I take that at pretty much face value from a very, 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 very good French source. Yeah, they don't really play with that traditional number 9, and obviously it's been successful for them. So look, I'm all I know is Tanzi Lok is very, very good for PSG and for France. So I'm just gonna that's who I would bet on information wise at this point in time. Okay. For a number of reasons in terms of in terms of what's wanted there. So on the striker, of course, we had the confirmation from Fabrizio, his little thing yesterday, what we've been talking about. Money Mouse, thank you for the 5 gifted membership. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. I'll be back to you soon on that last email in our discussion, and we'll get something going, Money. So really appreciate that. But yeah, so basically, he confirmed that we wanted, that we've been chasing Gyokeres for a while, that he's open without Champions League football, and essentially we need to work out the financials of the whole deal and all of that. Look, as it remains, the only 2 names we've even slightly heard are Gyokeres, that we've heard by 1 million people at this point and has been confirmed, and Mateta. You asked me to put this up, Issa. You sure? You can see it if you want. That's fine. The Mateta stuff, I think, is at the moment being a bit overblown because, as far as I know, he's wanting to stay at Palace. They're working on a new contract. I do not think that 35 million price is accurate. That's the first time anybody set a price that low. Most people have said it's going to be upwards of 50. That Palace really want to keep him. They're working on a contract, all sorts of stuff. So I don't think that 35 million price is accurate. I like Mateta. I like him. And I would certainly take him 1,000,000 times over Hojlund or not having a striker. But, he's still probably unlikely, especially given the amount that he would cost and the fact that he's working on a new contract at this point in time. What happens if Palace can't play in Europe? I don't know. I mean, they might have to sell somebody, but I don't think they're probably going to sell Guehi. I don't think they're in a position where they have to sell players, kind of regardless. But if he was 35, then sure. But that's what I thought months ago. Okay, well, if he's cheap, if he's 30, 35, then that's a great deal we could go for. I don't think he's 35 million. Most reports have said 50, 60. And it's really funny because months ago, you're totally right, Smokey. Months and months ago, I said, I really like Mateta. What if we got him for a few years as a 30, if he was cheap, if he was 30, 35 million, what if we got him? And it was like, when I first said it, people were freaking out, like, oh, terrible, Mateta, that's the standard, the typical bullshit that you get. And then now people are like, Mateta's not so bad. Mateta's pretty good. You are coping, obviously. But it's this weird thing. I got to tell you, this is such a funny dynamic to me because I really don't know what United fans want at the end of the day. And I really do wonder, are United fans worse than everybody else at this, or is this in every fan community? Because I don't pay attention enough to other fan communities and places in general. But United fans will both complain At this, in one hand, in one breath, they will complain that we're buying Cunha and Mbeumo instead of reindeers and and Florian Squirts and and Ryan Cherky, right? Like they'll complain in one hand that we're not buying these guys from other leagues, and then in the other breath, they'll be saying we should be getting the 10, the people who were desperate for the 10 non-penalty goal striker from Ipswich, but are turning their nose up at the 55 goal striker from Portugal. Like, can we at least get it? Like, can we have some consistency in our complaints among the fans? Can we have, can we have some consistency in the way that we view things in some respect? At least some consistency. If you want to have a position, that's totally fine. Have a position. You know what I mean? But like, we hate Premier League proven, and then we like hate non-Premier League proven at the same time. I don't understand that. Base the Turkey, like, excuse me. Actually, Issa, Victor Gyokeres is in the 90th percentile for non-penalty goals. That's what NPG means. I don't know if you know that, Issa. That's what NPG means on that chart you just saw when he was at the top. NPG, it stands for non-penalty goals. I don't know if you knew that. Just educating. What's the website I use? It's data.mb. Data.mb. Gyokeres on preseason tour if signed. I mean, yeah, we would want him to. For sure we would want him to. Yeah, there is definitely a worse slander name that I'm not going to use because it definitely is out of pocket. It is out of pocket. But that's fine. But yeah, look, I mean, I just want people to be on the same page. I just want people to be on the same page about what happens, about what they want and hate. But yeah, look, obviously we want a striker. We really, really want a striker. I know that as well. That is no doubt in any universe that we do want a striker. And everything I've ever heard and everything I talked to, we want a striker. So yeah, the fan base is too big for a hive mind. It's just that I often see the same people complaining without consistency. What I really don't like is how many people are insistent on already trying to drive hate against players who haven't even signed for us. Just to do it ahead of time because it creates such a it's so hard to shift people once they've settled onto an opinion. You know what I mean? It's so hard. It's confirmation bias, but there's another word for it. But it's why you can't like discuss politics with people, because like once people have taken a position, they psychologically they will reject evidence. So you can't even have a conversation about it. You can't even show it. People will see it literally different based on whatever their initial stance was. There are very, very few people that can actually be objective on this, where they literally, like, something comes in, they view it one way, and they will literally see something that goes directly against their view, and they can't see it. They literally can't. It's not even like, we're not even talking like an opinion. We're not even talking about people being dicks. Like, this is literally a known phenomenon that occurs in people's minds, that when they are set into something, they can't see things that go against it. They literally can't. It just goes right by them. And so they lose that ability. That's why you gotta, just be open. Just be open to things instead of taking a stance. That's why my stance is like, I'm going to support whoever joins. That's my default. Whoever joins, I'm going to support them. And I'm going to see the best in them. Whoever we're looking at, I'm going to look at why. I'm going to look at, what's good about them. I'm going to look at what they want. That's my perspective that I'm going to take. That's my perspective I'm going to take. And then over time, I hope it works out that way. But that's all. I'm going to start from that kind of positivity with every single person that we sign. I'd rather do that than have somebody give me than be able to claim, haha, look how shit everything is. I mean, I didn't want Antony at all, but I very much supported him in the first season and hoping that he would do well and looking at the positives once we signed him. And I hyped it up and did all of that stuff. The same goes for Hojlund, even though it was double the price we were expecting and yada yada. Like that's what you got to do. That's what we should do, I think, as fans. And then if it doesn't work, criticize later. Look at it in later on. Look at it with enough evidence then and go back and say, how was it actually? But you don't have to give them a hard time. From the beginning. It's the same reason why, like Xerxes was, got booed by November, and then you look at it and you go, wait a second, he was actually a lot better after that. You know what I mean? Like, why did we even judge so quickly? Tim, welcome to the Pro Muppet. Thank you. Welcome to the crew. I appreciate that. So, that's kind of my view. I think every player deserves, I think in their second season, then I really want to start like fresh with them, and say, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? That's what I want to do is say, where do we go from here? Let's see how you do in this second season and start from neutral ground there instead of with too many preconceived notions. That's kind of the idea. But I'll say that. Players will, because I also expect that players will perform poorly when they join a club, and it's going to take time to adapt. It's the same like with youth. Like, people are able to do it more with youth. Some don't still, but people are able to do it with youth more when they understand youth. A young player comes in, they perform crap in the beginning. People who understand the youth side of it don't say that player's shit. They say, we'll give it more time. Some people write them off immediately when that happens. And I think that we have to figure that out. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens. Boom, aggregated. Okay. But that's fine. But I think that people are just too into needing to show their knowledge than just be fans of the team. You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's fine. Some people want to watch the game in a different way. Let's see. All right, let me move on to the sales because I got to get to the sales. I've been yapping. I've got like 30 more minutes, so I gotta let me cross out the things I've already discussed because I still got to get to the sales and then I got to get to the midfield. So let's talk about money. Let's talk about money. On the money side of things, as I was talking about earlier, we basically, PSR wise, things are pretty good, but we needed to, and then this will tie into the sales. We don't have a ton of cash. And we spent 20 million for Cunha. We knew the deals of that. We didn't buy the lap for 30 that we needed, but we do need money. We do need these sales in order to spend everything that we want to do, and we need a lot of sales because right now, depending on this Mbeumo deal, like, what if we have to pay 30 and 30 for him? Well, then we have no money left. Literally, we cannot go spend money after that, very likely. We're going to have to raise cash in order to make other deals, and then those deals are going to be dependent on the cash, because what if we have 15 million and we go for Gyokeres and we're saying, hey, we 55 million, and they're saying, look, we're Portuguese clubs, we need money, we're Sporting, like, we want 30 million up front, you only have 15. We won't agree a deal on that basis. That could be problematic. We don't know what they're asking for. We know that the fee for like someone like Gyokeres is like 50 to 55 million. What we don't know is, even if we were to go for him today, how much cash do they want? What if they want it up front? Because they're agreeing to a deal well below his release clause. What if they want 50 million up front? It doesn't really matter PSR wise, amortization wise, but if we don't have 50 million, then we can't do that deal until we have 50 million, or until later in the summer when we're in a position where our cash flow is going to be different and we can feel like we're going to borrow. You know what I mean? I've not seen the data, like any info or reports on that aspect of it in particular. So if they want that up front, it may be a deal we can't do because of that for a while. So that's something that just has to be thought about in terms of this whole process on why we maybe haven't moved on certain deals as of yet. Okay, so that's just something to consider, and that's why we need sales, because we need people to pay us some money. If we're good on PSR, what is the plan to make up our large cash shortage? Well, our cash shortage isn't that bad. We actually paid another 50 million down on the credit line as well, which is a good thing. That's less debt, paying that down, right? But you have to bear in mind, like, the situation is, how do we improve our cash flow? It'll naturally catch up over time as PSR improves, because PSR is essentially expense versus revenue. So when the books are balanced, the cash flow will naturally catch itself up over time. But the biggest thing is that we need to get some new revenue streams, and we need to free up wages, because that's regular cash flow. That's cash flow we're spending every single week, paying out wages, paying out wages, paying out wages. That's how much that we can see. We had about 70 million in cash and about 150 million on the books in credit available. But you have to bear in mind that's going into a quarter where we don't make that much money, right? We don't have to spend as much money, but we don't make that as much money. And it's really hard to know how the cash flow is going to work with United. Without that is like almost impossible to read from the reports, frankly. But regardless, we probably need more cash. There were times when we had, like, I would say this. In the past, when our cash was good and we didn't have a problem, when the cash was good and we didn't have a problem, I think, someone correct me if I'm wrong, we had like 150 million in cash reserves. Like, at any given time, we'd have no less than 150 million in cash reserves, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's where we would have. We've not had that for a while. So I think we need to get another 70 million. Well, the only way you can improve cash flow really is to be profitable and then save that money. So if we balance the books a bit and then we get back into Europe, that we'll have more money than we have to spend. If we make 70, 80, 90, from getting back into Europe, then if we're buying on amortized deals, we may only spend half of that. And then that can add 40 million to the cash reserves if we can get them on good installments, right? So there's a few different things that can be done to balance all of this. Yeah, the sales would be coming in, but we also have more installments to pay out at the same time, Naveen. That's the issue, is that we've got to pay some other deals as well. We do need more brand deals. Owner investment doesn't help PSR, but it can help cash. And what we could see, that I've mentioned before, that I'm still expecting we're going to hear something by August or so, is for Sir Jim to get some more of the club. If he can buy another piece of the pie, and some of that money doesn't all leave with the Glazers, but that's the problem. He could buy more of the club and they could take all of it. That's their right, unfortunately. But if they don't take all of it, then it could stay in the club, and that will help our cash situation as well. So that's part of the possibility there, in terms of what can be done. But that's an unknown at this point in time. And in the meantime, sales is what we have to do to get some more cash into the club, because those are ways, just straight gains, right? If we can go for, so let's talk about that. Let's start with Jadon Sancho. We still owe him 15 million in wages over the course of this season. That's the cash flow we're looking at, later on. That if we can know we're not going to have to spend that, then that's going to be good. We don't know if we've already paid Dortmund, regardless of how it's amortized. We just know that we're going to have to pay wages. If we can sell Sancho, then not pay his wages all year, then that will improve our foresight into the cash through the season by a good 15 million. That means if we needed to take 15 million from the credit line, ahead of time, we could do so, and we would be saving it through the year. So, so that's a possibility. In terms of Sancho and his interest, I saw something about West Ham. There was a story like a week ago that said West Ham was there was like some very brief inquiries over West Ham and Kudus and us and Sancho, like some brief thing about a swap or something that didn't really go anywhere. And I think that, that's um I'm not sure that there's much. I don't know what else is in that. And now I see that from that there's West Ham and there's a couple other clubs mentioned, I think, but West Ham are one club in there. The wages would be a problem, but you have to bear in mind something on the wages. It's not necessarily a problem, okay? Because I'll explain. We owe 15 million, but it's only for one more year. If they offer him 100,000 a week for 5 years, and so that leaves him short 10 million in this year. Well, if we get a 15 million fee for him and we pay off those, we wouldn't necessarily have to pay all the wages. Amir says Mbeumo could be hijacked by Spurs. That's old news. They already went in for him and he turned him down. That was in the initial reports about his decision. Spurs, Newcastle, and Arsenal were 3 clubs that came in for him that he turned down to want to go for to United. So meaningless in that front. He's already turned them down. We may not have to pay the full 10 million off. Maybe it's like 5 million that we'd have to make up in terms of the wages, and then we have the 5 million from Chelsea, and maybe we're getting 10 million left over on the fee. We pay the wages off. We take a small loss, but we don't have to, do anything else in there. We should start a GoFundMe page for Gyokeres. That would, well, hey, look, that's what it says on the fund. That the money you're donating is the Gyokeres fund. So we'll see, Um, so yeah, that's one factor. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Yeah, maybe we're not in a huge rush or anything like that. No, I don't think there's any issue with Mbeumo. Everything's just progressing. There's just a lot of pieces to sort out, and they want all of those things agreed before they actually move towards a deal, before they move towards another bid. And the bid probably won't happen until everything is sorted, right? So I see like things being, aggregated and all of that about we're close to an overall fee, but I do think that the context, I do think the context should come into play here. I do think context should come in here on like, I do think context should come into account here. That like, yeah, we might be close to agreeing the overall fee, but you have to agree like all of the things that go with that. The overall fee may not even be was probably not even the main issue in this. The structure is pretty much vital to that too, as well as the installments from our side. But no, look, I don't think it's going to be hijacked. That's kind of the whole point, It doesn't really matter. Thomas Frank hasn't even been hired by Spurs yet, has he? Unless I missed something. Secondly, Mbeumo was like leaving the club Thomas Frank was just at. So I don't think he's going to change his mind because Thomas Frank goes to a different club kind of regardless. He wanted to join United and turned down Newcastle, who's in Champions League, Arsenal, who's in Champions League, and Tottenham, who's in Champions League already. So that's not something I'm worried about. Look, until the deal's done, it's not. It just is what it is. So we need those sales. So Sancho, maybe West Ham, but I think it's more likely he moves somewhere else in Europe. As I mentioned the other day, maybe there's something like that happens in Turkey. Maybe there's something like happens in Saudi. There's been some reports there, so I guess we'll see. On Garnacho, some of the clubs that I believe are interested. Obviously, you got the report from Fabrizio today about 3 Premier League clubs. I have heard that before. I have heard that before and spoken about it before in particular, as well as clubs from around Europe. So some of the clubs that I know that I believe are involved, that there were inquiries from Atletico. He had talks with Atletico, his agent, directly in the last 12 months. Um, he had talks with Leverkusen is definitely interested. That's one Fabrizio mentioned. We've talked about that recently. Reuniting with Ten Hag once they sell Wirtz, that might become much more feasible. Dortmund, I believe, have had some interest in Garnacho, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's anything active on it, but I believe they have had some interest in him. A lot of people are talking about Villa. I think there's probably something in that, but I'm not totally positive. And what I think that they don't want, Villa, for a lot of the people that are making suggestions on that, I don't think what they want to do is sell their players they want to keep to fund players they want to bring in. There's players they want to keep, and when people are saying, um, get Kamara or this or that, well, I don't think they're going to want to dump the players they want to keep to balance their books. I think they're going to want to keep the players they want to keep. So I don't think that that's necessarily feasible in any way. I don't think we'll get 50 for Garnacho, but I think we can get 40 plus add-ons, and I think we're going to have to accept that. The other clubs in England, I can only half speculate. Might be Forest. Maybe West Ham. I don't know, but I'm not positive on those ones for sure. But yeah, look, I think that it's very possible he stays in England. I think I've said before that he would prefer if he can, and there might be some other clubs that come in for him there. In England, Spurs would be an interesting one. I think Chelsea have turned off of him because of the attitude issues that they mentioned before. There was a report from one of their journalists about their concerns with the attitude problems, and all of that. So Spurs would be an interesting one though to me, especially with Frank going in. If Frank does go in there, he could fit. He could fit that quite well. Frankly, he could fit Frank's team quite well. Chelsea are going for Gittins. Yeah, Chelsea are going for Gittins. So I don't think he'll be going there. But we do need this one. This one would be big in unlocking things. The next one is Inter and Hojlund. This is like a serious topic. They're seriously interested. They really want him. Apparently, we're just waiting for their new manager. There are some signals that the new manager is not going to turn down Hojlund, and that's a deal they want to do. From my understanding, they're probably still going to offer a loan, and we're going to probably try to get it to an obligation, and I think we'll take it. If it's close to like a loan with a conditional obligation, I think we would take it from Inter. And I think that that's the most likely outcome now is that kind of deal as a loan plus obligation. But we're waiting for their offer. I don't think that their manager is going to turn it down. I don't think their manager is turning it down. That's what I would say based on what I've heard. I think it's real likely that we do get some kind of proposal coming in here from Inter. We've kind of been expecting it and having more meetings have happened, and we're just kind of waiting for that proposal a little bit. No penalty clauses. Again, I will tell you that that's super unusual. The only reason we had a penalty clause is because Sancho hadn't agreed a contract with Chelsea, and because it came in late. A loan won't get us cash. Yes and no. That's true and it isn't. Firstly, there's usually a loan fee. Secondly, if we know when an obligation will be triggered, then we can know when a cash situation would improve or something like that, and we can use our credit line to borrow money before to use it for later. Okay? That's okay. That's one of the reasons you use credit. It's like, hey, okay, I know we're getting 15 million in 8 months from now. I need 15 million today. I can spend it now that I know I'm getting that money. King Ragnar Mirror saying Frank wants Spurs to go for Mbeumo. That's why I'm stressing need it done. I wouldn't worry about it. Look, there's nothing to stress about. Spurs are a team, again, already he turned down. All right? He's already turned them down regardless of it. We're so far into this deal. I don't think there's anything to worry about. He's made it clear he wants United. He turned down Spurs, Arsenal, and Newcastle already. So unless we see somebody saying that he's changed his mind, then I don't see anything in it. You know what I mean? To me, that sure, it could be a a leak from London as part of the negotiations. You know what I mean? Like certainly that's possible. Um, but it is what it is. It could be just a little thing like that. Um, just scare United into speeding up to submit a bid on their terms. Who knows, right? But he already turned down Spurs. I don't think we'd be worried about it. Obviously, we've had enough contact with Mbeumo and his camp to be certain of what we're feeling. So we'll see. But we'll see. Look, again, nothing in this business should be taken for granted. But there's no signals on our side that there's anything wrong as of yet. But obviously, we want to get the deal done, and hopefully, we do get like the breakthrough. Because as I said, I think the next thing will be, very likely that we're working on the final details, um, or we walk away. But that would be really, really low on the possibility. So, but we do have a lot to agree. We do have a lot to still agree on. It's important to note that with that context, we have a lot of stuff to still agree on for this deal to get over the line. May be easy to agree on, but they are important things for a deal to take shape. That those things have to happen. But I do believe we're getting close on the overall structure or the overall fee rather. But there's a lot of details in the structure will need resolving for sure. Then on the midfield, to kind of wrap this up because we got a little bit of time left, and then I'll have to go. Some of the names I was going over this morning, I don't know if you guys remember, but I was talking about some of the names that we've looked at in the past and thinking, I think there was like 6 or so names or something like that I quite liked, that we have looked at in the past. That's one of the reasons, because we have been looking at players in the 6-8 role. I feel like it's you guys I say this every summer, but it's like your first transfer. You know what I mean? Like this, you get reports in the middle of us negotiating with players about someone else coming in for them, like every single transfer we've ever done. It happens every single time. These kinds of reports, these kinds of little stories, these kinds of little things. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. Okay. We'll be all right. We will be okay. Why don't we just wait? Why doesn't everybody just relax and wait? I only tried to say it because I only talked about it today to try to because people get all questioning, and there is nothing bad to say about it. Everything that I've heard is positive. So, we'll move forward. But look, again, we need more guys coming in athletic. We need more athletic midfielders, guys winning the ball, doing all of that stuff. Some of the names I spoke about in the video this morning that we've looked at in the past. Ugo Chukwu, I think he's somebody we could get for not too expensive. That could come in, that could fill this kind of role pretty well. Anton Stack is another that I think we could get to fill this role pretty well, who's not super expensive, right? Who's the other ones that I was mentioning? Let me check my notes here. But we need machines. We need machines. Yeah. Some other interesting ones. Then there was Nemcha, but who fits it right. But I'm not so certain of him, and he's had injury issues, and I'm not so certain how interested we've really ever been in with him. These are maybe the more affordable options. And then you start looking at more expensive ones. We've looked at João Gomez a few times in the past, but he's signing a new contract with Wolves. I think that's pretty difficult to do. I think that one would be really tough. Manu Kone is a player that we've scouted for some time. That is a good player as well. That we scouted a while ago. I shouldn't say for some time. I know that we scouted him before. Then there's the dreams, right? Like the guys that there's no earth that we can obtain them, but they're obviously fantastic players. But if somehow Madrid were to let go of Tchouaméni or Camavinga, I would love to bring them in. I'm not doing random names. I'm talking about players that we've had interest in the past, guys. If one more person quotes Tingus Bingus sources panicking about Mbeumo, then James will turn text to speak back on. That might be true. Thank you for that. These are the dreams. One of these 3 guys is the dream targets. Wharton, Tchouaméni, Camavinga. These are like the dreams. These are the guys you really, really wish you could, that if we had the money we could get. We are real interested in Wharton, but it's going to be 90 plus million this summer. There's just no way. 70, 80 plus, there's just no way. But I would take any one of these threes would be to me like the ideal target, the dream target for me. Onana can fit this too. I don't think that they're gonna be selling Onana. I don't think they're gonna be selling Onana. I do think that we need that we do need a departure. Look, I think we do, because essentially we're talking about replacing Casemiro, basically. Now, if we sell Sancho and Garnacho and Rashford and Antony and Hojlund, we probably could buy him anyway. But yeah. But I think we need a midfield departure. I think realistically we're going to need a midfield departure, to make space in this. I really like Hackney. I've talked about him before, but I don't think he's the right person for this position. I don't think he's come back. I don't think he's the right person for this position. I would partner Hackney with a guy like one of these players. I don't think I would use him as the guy next to Bruno. You'd have all the passing in the world, but I don't think it would work, and I don't think it's what we're looking for in that respect. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna end it here because I gotta go. I gotta get to coaching. I got to do other things. I've kept it to about an hour. I've kept this one pretty focused, pretty secure, pretty in line. Make sure to like on your way out of the video. Only 260. A lot of you, 1,000, have been here for about an hour. You can drop a like. You can get the numbers higher for me. I really appreciate that. It helps a lot when you do those kinds of things. Yeah, it does. It makes a difference. So thank you all for that. I'll probably be back tomorrow. With something. We'll see. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out today, and I will see you all later, okay? Have a good one. See you soon. Goodbye. Enjoy your day, everybody.